Like so many of us, 2020 literally pulled the rug out from under my feet, and when all was said and done, my life was a hot mess. And now here I am at 40-something, healing from depression and anxiety, doing my best to live my best hot mess life, all while making some magic and miracles along the way, using the same sacred feminine principles that I've been preaching for so long. And now I get to share all of that with you. My name is Maria, aka the Femme Coach, and you're listening to the Femcast podcast, the podcast for wild, sassy, and spiritual women who are ready to tap into their sacred feminine superpowers to live their best hot mess life. This podcast is listener discretion advised for mature content and coarse language. Hey you guys, what is up and welcome back to the Femcast. I am so excited to have you here. Happy holidays. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas to you. I am literally recording this on Christmas Day, and if you've read the title of this audio or this podcast, you'll know I was quarantined for Christmas. Yes, absolutely. That was me. This happened. And I don't even know what to say except for yes, it was absolutely disappointing. It's certainly not what I wanted. This whole week has just been a total whirlwind. So let me just start by saying this is certainly not the Christmas that I have planned. And I know I'm not alone in this Christmas, and I'm sure many of you are quarantining, whether you're quarantining alone or with family, just know that my heart goes out to you. I sent you a big hug. It's not easy to be away from our loved ones, especially around the holidays. And it certainly adds a whole new layer of healing, that's for sure. But I mean, it is what it is. All we can do is make the best of it. And I've really been conscious about trying to make the best of the situation in so many different ways. And there's been some aspects that have been, really great and eye-opening. And then there's others where, it's really frustrating and there's a lot of emotions kind of kicking up. So if you're out there and you're quarantined at Christmas, just please know I'm sending you all my love, and sending you a big virtual audio recording hug, to kind of hold you and make you feel better this Christmas or this holiday season. I would like to say that I think that, as we move through these challenging, I don't want to say these challenging times, but as we move through this season of our human existence, I think the one thing that we can all agree on and sort of take away from all of this is the realization that we really don't have a lot of control over much. I mean, other than who we are and how we feel, that's really about as much as control as we've got. And even really how we feel, we give a lot of that control away to the people, places, and things around us to kind of govern that on our behalf. Even though we do have control over it, we've learned to really give that power away. So really the only thing we have any control over is who we are and how we show up and how we respond to the situations happening around us. Yes, we all have the power to create our reality, and our reality is a reflection of what's going on the inside. But when we're all a collective hot mess, guess what? We're creating a collective hot mess. Hence how we got to this. But however, I do think that I still firmly believe that this is a very healing time for everybody. And I know this because so much has been triggered. And triggering means healing. Healing is never a fun process. It is ugly. It is messy. If you want to talk about a hot mess, healing is a hot fucking mess. So make no mistake about that. But, however, what I will say is this. I've had a lot of space to kind of show up for those triggers and recognize them and deal with them as they come up. I've really been making a conscious effort to make the best of it. And I've even kind of, in this space where I've been quarantining for the last few days, I, have had the space to kind of come up with some new creative ideas that I am really, really, really excited about. And I will share some of that with you guys here today. But for the first part of this, let me just say, and I'm going to really try my hardest to record this, edit it, post it, and get it up on the podcast today so that people who are alone on Christmas can listen to this and get something from this and take away something from this. I will try my absolute hardest. That is my promise. No, I'm not going to promise anything. Please, Santa, help me post this podcast today. I beg you. Okay, now I'm being silly. And I've had no wine during this quarantine process. Let me just tell you, I was quarantined without wine. We do not have wine delivery in Ontario unless you book it 3 weeks in advance before the holidays. So yeah, this is all natural. Okay, so I've had the idea that, actually before I even go there, let me just say a huge shout out and thank you to everybody listening to this. The stats on this podcast in the last several months have been freaking phenomenal. I am overjoyed. I can't even tell you. I am so grateful to each and every one of you for what you brought to this podcast, to your energy, just being present, just knowing that you're out there and you're listening and my words are resonating with you means the world to me. I've always said if I can share my story in a way that helps other people, it makes me feel so full and it literally makes my heart want to explode. So thank you so much for being here and for showing up and for listening and tuning in. This podcast has officially been listened to in more than 100 different countries. I kid you not. And I think at this point, we're now averaging about 4K in traffic per day. Holy shit, mind blown. And I can't even, when I saw the stats of last week, I swear to God, my mind almost exploded. That mind exploding emoji. That's kind of what I felt like. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you all so much. Big hug, big, massive, virtual love and hugs to you all. So thank you. Let's talk about quarantining over Christmas. So I came into contact with somebody on Monday before the holidays who apparently tested positive on Wednesday. So I found out Wednesday afternoon that I was exposed. I had literally just been to see my parents that morning. So for many of you who have followed me, you know that my parents have had a ton of health issues the last couple of years. My mom is living with congestive heart failure. My dad with COPD, high blood sugar, high blood pressure, literally almost blind in one eye. And he's had if I list them, my goodness, heart attacks, aneurysms, strokes, lung collapses. He has just been in and out of the hospital for the last 2 years. My mom has had about 3 episodes of heart failure, I think 2 or 3. And, taking care of them the last 2 years, dealing with the, collapse of the business and, leaving my home and pandemic, the last 2 years have just been so intense for me and for everyone, not just for me. I think every one of us has been dealing with our own story, our own stuff that's been coming up. And wow, and now being quarantined at Christmas and finding out that I may have exposed my parents was horrifying to me. I think when I first heard the news, all I could feel was panic that I had exposed them, panic that something was going to happen to them. Sometimes a common cold will and has actually put them in the hospital, especially my dad. So it terrifies me. It absolutely terrifies me. And when I heard the news, all I could feel was panic. And I just all I could do was cry, but it wasn't it wasn't like an ugly cry, but it was a very frantic, what do I do? Oh my God, how can I stop this? And I felt so out of control and helpless. I think that was the hardest part, was that I felt helpless to do anything to help them if I had exposed them. And, that was not a good feeling. I am never, I don't so much fear. For me, I think, I don't want to put anything out there that's going to be perceived as, I just don't want to twist information. It's a pandemic. We're all dealing with it. Just, yeah, I don't even want to touch that. But what I will say is, it wasn't so much, again, fear for myself. It was fear for putting them in a very vulnerable situation, being that they're already so vulnerable. That was my biggest fear. So, and my other biggest fear was, well, given that, we know they're getting older, and it is, realistically speaking, it really is just a matter of time at this point. And we know that, and a big part of the last couple of years has been the difficulty in coming to terms with that. And, another thought that crossed my mind was, oh my God, I'm going to have to quarantine over Christmas. What if this is their last Christmas? And my heart just broke into a million different pieces. And, I think anybody quarantining over the holidays, so much. There's everyone's life is different, I think, and whatever is triggering you at this point, if you are quarantining over the holidays and you find yourself in a situation where you're alone, whatever this is bringing up for you, please know that it is an absolutely healing experience, because one of my biggest things has been letting go of control and what's it called? Creating a less codependent relationship with my parents. I am so afraid of losing them. I've always been afraid of losing them since I was a little girl, even before there was anything wrong with them. So this is really helping me to really heal and move through that fear that I've been holding on to for so long. So it is very healing, even though it is very fucking uncomfortable. But like I said, healing is always uncomfortable. If it's not uncomfortable, you're not fully healing. So, having to come face to face with that has been a very healing experience for me. But like I said, I really intentionally set out to make the best of it. And, how I've been kind of doing that is I've been infusing all of the things to really support me in this healing that I'm experiencing, right? So I'm looking at it from that perspective, like what can I do for myself to support this healing that, this invitation that I'm being given to heal more deeply. That's one side. On the other side, what are all the things that I can surround myself with to feel really good this Christmas, knowing that, I'm not going to be with my family. Let's see, where do we start? So to facilitate the healing, I think, what I've done is, you guys know, I love my journaling practice. If I could do one thing for the world, it would be to teach it how to journal so that it could heal itself. And maybe that is where I go next, because to me, journaling is just such a beautiful, intimate thing. And it's really helped me to get present with who I am and what I'm feeling and how I can process through all those emotions, and also help to see the lessons that are being presented to me and the wisdom. So for me, journaling has been absolutely transformational. So I've been doing a lot of that in the last couple of days. And if any of you have been following me for a long time, you'll know I have my Radical Shift Daily Practice. Those are basically my 5, what do I want to call them? Those are like my 5, I don't want to say basic, I'll say foundational journaling prompts that I like to journal on every day. I have 1,000 other prompts that I turn to depending on what's going on in the time and the vibe and the world. But those are like my foundational 5. Those are like my most transformational that I basically kind of assign to everyone, to myself, to my clients when I used to work with clients one-on-one. I assign them to my friends. I just think they're really important with getting in touch with how you're feeling and taking your power back to intentionally create your day. It's literally 5 steps, 5 minutes. So if you want that, you can find the link on thefemcoach.com on the main page below this. And I always include the link below this podcast if you're catching it there. So I'm doing a lot of journaling, a lot of resting. I've been doing a lot of cleaning because, believe me, cleaning around my apartment is really healing for me. It just makes me feel really good, and makes oh my goodness, my space feel really light and airy. And I think that's kind of a reflection of, the space that you're feeling internally. So I think that's a really good feeling. I've been doing, not so much meditating. I've done a little bit of meditating, but more so, reflection, contemplation, and intention setting, has really been my focus, really reflecting on the feelings that are coming up for me and why, trying to understand them. And listening to healing music has been really great. Writing letters that I probably will never send to my family members or to anybody else who's on my mind and in my heart. Even writing letters to myself has been a really soothing experience for me. And just kind of, when exploring where I want to, what I want to do differently next. Like, where do I want to go? What do I want to bring into my relationships or into my experience, even onto this podcast? What is my next, where am I headed next kind of thing, right? So that's how I've kind of facilitated that part of it. And it's funny because in that process, I created so much space for creativity. I actually started to take a look at, I actually started to get into that creative vibe, where ideas and inspiration started to flow. So I have some ideas for things that I want to talk about on this podcast, but also what I really want to do, especially just as to say thank you for how you guys have been showing up for me. Every episode has been so amazing, is to create kind of like a video vlog, almost like a behind the scenes look at how I put a lot of these principles into practice every single day that we talk about on the podcast. So it'll be a little bit more candid, a little bit more organic, and kind of like on a moment to moment basis, like what my day looks like or my week looks like, what's coming up for me, how I'm dealing with it, what are my intentions, like moving through my own healing, all that stuff. I'm really excited to do that, and I cannot wait to start working on that. And I think I will take this period of quarantine to do that. So yeah, that's exciting. So look out for that. More to come. And then in terms of making the most of enjoying it, I've surrounded myself with the things that I love. Now, again, I didn't have any wine in the house. So there's no bottles of Christmas cheer anywhere at this point. I was actually going to go and buy the wine the day that I found out for the holidays, the day that I found out that I had to go into quarantine. So, as soon as I found out, I immediately went straight home, locked the door, and that was the end of it. And I've ordered groceries online and had them delivered, and I've ordered takeout. Thank God for Uber Eats and Papa John's Pizza. That's all I have to say. They nourished me through Christmas Eve, and now they're nourishing me again on Christmas Day. But I have other stuff to make as well. So I'm fully stocked and ready to just hunker down for the next few days. However, I got my favorite foods, right? That was a big part of it. I literally have a playlist of my favorite Christmas music ready to go. And I've been listening to that intermittently. I am binge watching Hallmark movies, and I know they're cheesy as can be, but the cheesier the better is what I say. So totally enjoying and loving that, and making some time for creative stuff like this, where I can kind of share what's going on and my take on it and what I'm doing to kind of make it better. So yeah, is it how I would have wanted to spend Christmas? Is it ideal? No. Am I making the best of it? Yes. And the way that I'm making the best of it is exactly that. Is one, I'm honoring the invitation to do some healing work and reflection on what are some of the emotions that this is triggering in me. And two, I'm trying to give as much holiday spirit and comfort as I can, so it can feel like an enjoyable holiday, right? And I think the last and most important thing that I've done through this quarantine to kind of make sure it still feels like a holiday is to make sure that I understand that just because I can't be with the people I love doesn't mean that I can't feel connected to the people I love. So, writing loving holiday messages and sending them to my family and friends, talking to my family as much as I can over the phone, having laughs, sharing jokes, sending them little pictures of what I'm doing throughout the day and kind of keeping them entertained and making them feel like we're still all here and together. Sending voice notes to the people in my life that I love and cherish so much. And just remembering that, time and space is nothing, Unfortunately, what's going on in the world right now is really got us all feeling very separate from one another. And even if you're not isolated, chances are you are feeling very isolated and disconnected, whether it's from people, whether it's from the life the way you want to live it, whether it's from the routines that you love, the activities that you love doing, your lifestyle, whatever it is, like there's something in there for you to look at and say, I can find the deep connection and freedom that I'm longing for. And it's all available to me, and it's available to me from within. And when we start to look at the ways that maybe we've been standing in the way of those two things, and maybe we've been relying on our outside world to make that available to us rather than tapping into our own power, I think the better off we'll all be. And I think, it's really times like this that really make you look at your shadow and the things that are being triggered in you. And I know that can be a really, like I said, very uncomfortable. But there's so much to be gained on the other side of that healing work. And there's so much to be gained for being able to feel at home and at peace and connected, and totally and completely free to be fully expressed, no matter where you are or what situation you find yourself in. And I think that if we can learn to do that right now in this season that we find ourselves in, this season of this collective hot mess, I think the better off we'll all be. Because if we can find a way to feel tapped in and connected and fully free and authentic and fully expressed in this situation, I think we can be that way in pretty much any situation that we find ourselves in. So, you know what? Yes, growth feels uncomfortable. Yes, it can be gross. But how it empowers us and changes us, and makes us stronger, more resilient humans. And by stronger, I don't necessarily mean, let that not be misconstrued for not being present with our emotions and being vulnerable. I think, to me, vulnerability is power. And I think that's one of the things that we're being forced to really learn, is that is being powerful. And I think that the more vulnerable we can be and the more present we can be with what we're feeling, the more power we'll have to transcend what we're experiencing and really come out the other side feeling much lighter and much more connected, and to each other, to ourselves, and even to a higher power, whatever you call that higher power. I know that's been a big takeaway for me. I always try and remind myself that I am never alone, even when I do feel alone. And there are moments when we always feel, there are moments where all of us feel alone. Whether it's real or perceived, it really doesn't matter. When you have those moments, it's a great opportunity to lean on remembering how not alone you actually are in every sense of the word, and really leaning into that higher power and connecting with it and connecting with yourself and connecting with your own truth. And what inspires you, and what is that special magic that you bring to the table in this experience, and how you can embody that more fully and completely, I think is a really magical opportunity. So if you can take that invitation, if you do find yourself either alone or, because, that's just your life circumstance, or if you find yourself quarantined over Christmas or the holidays, if you can really take that invitation, take the invitation to sit with the triggers, take the invitation to bring into your world the things that will make you feel better, and bring more joy to your day. Take the invitation to transcend maybe the isolation and the loneliness that you might be feeling, and send that love out. Send the love out to the people that you love. Send the love out to the people who need it most in the world, even if you don't know who they are. Send that love to yourself, your future self, your younger self. Send that love out to the higher power that you know is connected, that is connecting all of us in a very powerful way. And trust that love will be sent out and sent back to you. So that is my holiday quarantine message. I love you all so much, and I cannot wait to see what unfolds with this podcast in the coming year in 2022. I cannot wait to see what unfolds with the vlog. More to come on that. But just know that I love you all very much, and I send you all the love in my heart, and hugs. And well wishes for the new year. So until next time, which will probably be in 2022, massive love. You've been listening to the Femcast podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow and share. And don't forget to check out my website at www.thefemcoach.com for more resources and tools to help you harness your sacred feminine superpowers to create your best hot mess life. Until next time, massive love.